Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Strange and Uncanny. I'm your host, Dane. Previous videos, we've talked about hauntings, we've talked about aliens, we've talked about cryptids. We've touched on each one of them. We didn't go too, far in depth, but we touched on them. This video, I had something totally different planned for today. Then, of course, I'm sitting around and I'm watching videos for the last few days and everything, and something triggers in my mind, and so I'm making a new video. I changed my mind. I didn't want to do it on what I was going to do it on. I'll do that at a later time. So what I'm getting into today is, even from childhood, I was taught, the earth is 6,000 years old. We were created all this. That's all fine and dandy if you believe that. But there's people that wholeheartedly believe that, no matter what science says. I think that there's always some kind of narrative around things. Not sure what this one is, and I'm not going against anybody's religious beliefs or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. This whole episode has to do with timelines and advanced civilizations. And you'll get where I'm going at once I get started here. But we're going to start out with creationists. Creationists believe we're 6,000 years old. We were totally, brought to the brink of extinction 4,000 years ago with a flood, which everybody knows the flood story, but a lot of people don't know that there's a flood story that's even older that is almost the exact same story, except for that story is 12,000 years old. Go figure. You got your evolutionists, and I'm not going to spend any time on that because, I think that there's creatures that evolve, and, we might evolve a little bit over time, but we sure as hell didn't come from no monkeys, and we sure as hell didn't, Darwin, whatever. I'm not giving him a whole hell of a lot of my time here. I don't believe in Darwinism or any of that. So with that being said, we're going to get started here. Like I said, remember the 6,000 year thing. Just remember that. So, we have Egypt. Egypt is supposedly 5,175 years old. With the pyramids being 4,500 years old, the oldest one being 4,700 years old. Sphinx supposed to be 4,500 years old. Conveniently fits right in that 6,000 year timeline. Go figure. But geologists, scientists, or archaeologists have always argued the age of the pyramid and the Sphinx and all that. Erosion around the Sphinx. A lot of people think it could be at least 12,000 years old, which is, to me, is extremely interesting. They don't seem to want to entertain that idea. They have, it's pretty well set in stone, I believe, in Egypt on to how old everything is. I don't think you're going to persuade them one way or another, but just keep that in mind. So we're going to move on from Egypt. We're going to go a little bit further back. We're going to hit this 6,000 year old civilization, supposedly, if not older, which was the Sumerians from Sumer, which is now southern Iraq, present day. A lot of things are actually known about this culture because they were amazing record keepers. They supposedly created the wheel, the alphabet, so it goes on and on and on. And they also worship gods called the Anunnaki. I'm sure you know who the Anunnaki are. Almost everybody, I think, knows who the Anunnaki are. And I'm not going to get too in depth on that right now because I'm actually going to do a whole episode on the Anunnaki. But the Sumerians they were incredible. Their record keeping was unbelievable. So we're going to move on from that. I don't want to take too much time on each one of these. But like I said, that was 6,000, maybe 6,000 plus years ago. Then we get to our next civilizations. And no, I'm not touching on every ancient civilization that's out there, or I'd be here for about 20 years. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. This civilization was supposedly built in 11,500 years ago to 12,000 years ago. Amazing architecture. Really, really cool place. I wish they would put more into the excavation of it. I know that they are. They seem to hold it a lot for some reason. I have no idea why. There's also Karahan Tepe, which is also in Turkey, which they believe to be 12,000 years old, if not older, which that's pretty incredible. There's actually several of the tepes. They're interesting. Each one of them's kind of a rabbit hole, but they seem to tie together a little bit, which I think is really, really super cool. And with that being said, like I said, 12,000 years old. 12,000. Not 6,000, 12,000. Then we're going to move on and we're going to take a huge jump here. We're going to South Africa. We have a place there called Adam's Calendar. Now, Adam's Calendar is very interesting. They believe that it was most likely used as an observatory. Damn, I can't talk today. But anyhow, an observatory, it's a rock formation. They actually say it's almost like the Stonehenge of Africa, which is pretty cool because Stonehenge is cool, but this is even cooler. It could have been used ceremonial purposes. Nobody really knows, but it's very interesting. And they think it is anywhere between 75 to 200,000 years old. So far, far, far away from 6,000 years old. Which to me, I'm going to have to go with the science on this one. Faith's a good thing, but sometimes faith is just faith. There's some scientific proof here that really kind of blows me away. It's one of those things where I think that anybody that has any type of belief system, that's great as long as they're not hurting anybody else. I mean, that's great. But I'm one of them people that I think that every story we've ever been told, most likely from from history, came from somewhere else. I think they're like hand-me-downs, almost like folklore. I think names change. Whether they can take several gods and make it monolithic, things like that. I'm one of the people that I think that we have risen up. We've had advanced civilizations, and I think we have wiped ourselves out. That's what I think, or something's wiped us out several times. It's almost like we get too big and then we're gone. You can use the Mayans and all that as an example. It just goes on and on and on. But Adam's Calendar is very cool. Then I did a little bit of digging on footprints, because footprints tell quite a big story. There are some disputed tracks in Greece, and I did say disputed. They go back 6 million years. There's, let me see, footprints in South Africa that are anywhere from 150 to 175,000 years old. But Tanzania, the oldest confirmed human type footprints. They were, I believe, trapped in an ash bed. They go back 3.6 million years. 3.6 million years. So, you know, you can believe what you want. I'm obviously going to believe what I want. Like I said, I think we come from something that we have no clue, because I think that they weren't good, other than the Sumerians, at keeping records, or if they have kept records, they've been translated down through the years. They went from Aramaic, ancient Latin, ancient Hebrew to English, and I just think so much was lost in translation. I'm one of them people. I think if you know where you come from, you know where you might end up. That's just, it's kind of forthtelling. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people just don't give a shit, and that's fine too. I mean, I'm just one of those people. I'm very inquisitive, and I need to know. And if not, I need to keep digging till I do know. And if I don't know, by the time I'm dead, then I guess that's just the way it's going to end up. But anyhow, until the next video, I will see you later.